Hey guys, what's up? Back in the garage again with my trusty ladder anchor right here. I'm all set up, ready to go. This video is all about more advanced hitches. So I made a video a really long time ago about less advanced hitches, which talked about like Munder hitch, clove hitch. I also made another video on friction hitches, which is auto blocks, climb heists, and pressix. And so in this, I want to talk about three hitches that you would use for more advanced cases, sometimes rescue techniques. These are hitches that you would see more in the guiding realm, but they could come in handy for when you're either bailing off or just descending some alpine routes. Maybe you climbed a more technical route to the top and then you're descending via a less technical route, which still involves navigating some fifth class descents on the way down. And so these hitches could be useful for you in both your, if there are any guides who actually watch this, and in your recreational climbing. All right, so the first hitch I'm going to talk about is the Garda hitch. So you would mainly use this hitch for progress capture devices or ascending a rope as your progress capture on your harness. In order to build this hitch, you need two carabiners. They cannot be lockers because with locking carabiners, with the locker, the bevel, with the way you see how the hitch is made, this thing will get in the way and the hitch won't actually work. So this is pretty much the only time you'll use non-lockers for a hitch. They do have to be pretty much the same type of carabiner. The only difference between these two carabiners is the color, and then other than that, they are the same exact size. You want two non-lockers that are the same exact size. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clip both of these in my anchor just together like so. And then I'm going to take my rope. Now the key with this hitch is you have to decide which one is the load strand side and then what is not going to be the load strand side. So in this case, I'm going to treat the silver carabiner as the load strand side, and then this red carabiner will be on the other side. So I pull out my rope in accordance with the silver carabiner, so that means the left-hand side is where the load is going to be, and I'm going to clip the rope into both carabiners, and then take the non-load strand side, and then just make a loop like so, and I'm going to clip that back into the load strand carabiner again. So you can see how the first clip was through both, then just loop it around and clip the first carabiner again. Then if you give a little tug on the load strand side, there we go. And sometimes you have to tug the other side too, but it will form this shape. And this is how you know that the hitch is ready to go. If I pull down on the load side, I can't move rope through. If I pull down on the other side, I can move rope through quite easily. One thing that I use as a disclaimer for this hitch is if these carabiners get out of line, or if the hitch itself slips up from the spine of the carabiner, you want it to sit on the spine right here. If it slips up to like the gate or something, the carabiners get out of line, and then on the load strand part, you can see how the rope just slides through. So all of a sudden this hitch is not pinching. And it can even, if it gets just right, come unclip from one or both of the carabiners. So a very important part about this hitch is you have to add some sort of backup. In this case, I'll just use a locker. Well, you want your backup to be a locker. And then on the non-load side, the side that I can pull rope through, just add a clove hitch. Lock it up. And then now I can pull up rope just like always. The clove hitch being adjustable means I can pull that brake strand through every now and again, and if the hitch fails, then I have the clove hitch, if the Garda hitch fails, then I have the clove hitch backing it up. The next hitch I'm going to show you is called the Equivocation Hitch. That's kind of like the technical name for it. Some other pseudonyms are Daisy Duke or Daisy of Death. Death Daisy is another one, because if you screw it up, then you could easily fall a ways. This should only be attempted by people that are operating at an advanced level, like guiding, for example, and other folks that maybe are on the higher tier of experience because it has so many shortcomings. But here I'm gonna just show you how to make it. What I'm going to do is I got just a bight of rope. You can go with anywhere on the rope. And I'm going to use just this leg of the ladder because a lot of times you are slinging either a boulder or a tree or something like that. A big advantage of this hitch is that you can set up a rappel without pulling your rope all the way to the middle, or even a lot of times untying from the rope. So you and your partner can stay tied in while you can still have a releasable rappel. And I take an end, I'm going to bring it around, and then you see how of the end I have the two strands coming out. So I'm going to select a strand, stick it in that loop, pull on this side, and then put this strand in that loop. Pull on the other side, this strand in that loop, and then just repeat. Left, right, left. Okay, so there's no exact number of how many loops you put in, but you want to put enough for yourself to feel safe for sure. Generally about 7 is the right amount. On my very last loop, I will pull a big loop through, pull this end tight, and I can pull down to test it. And so this is the end that I'm going to rappel off of, because this loop is pinching the rope in place. And from here, you can sit down fully and rappel down. You're not going to be using this for really long rappels, maybe 20 feet max, just to get down a step that you're not comfortable down climbing. And then when you get down to the ground, you take the other strand and pull. That first one takes a while. Once you pull the left one and you feel the pop, you pull the right one. Left, right, until the whole thing comes down. So yeah, that's the equivocation hitch in a nutshell. Definitely worth practicing on the ground before you commit your life to it. But once you do get the hang of it, it really comes in handy for usually descending more technical terrain on more complex, bigger routes, and just helps you keep most of your rope in your backpack and still be able to move down fast. So the further apart your object that you're wrapping, the more drastic this V can be, and so the more wraps you have to put on in order to get a hitch that you feel comfortable with. Another thing that I try to do with these sorts of hitches is make them as big as I need them to be. I don't want to go overboard and have a lot of extra room for the hitch to move around. So the first example where I had this right here is more what I would go with. So there we had the equivocation hitch. That hitch is definitely something that you would use going down only rather than going up, because you don't want to belay someone up even over a very small section of 5th class on a releasable hitch like that. So this next hitch, the final hitch I'm going to talk about, is called the Kinetic hitch, and this would be something that you would use in that scenario I was talking about, where you're going up over a short section of 5th class and you want to give your partner some security in order for them to get up to where you are. But you also want to be fast about it. You don't want to build an anchor. Maybe you could always just place 2 cams and stack them together, but maybe you don't have that option available, and maybe there's a very nice tree that you can use. So you got a couple options there. You can walk all the way around the tree, or this hitch actually sort of helps put everything together, and then you can move faster and more efficiently by using this hitch. So the Kinetic hitch, you may also hear this being called as the tree hitch. What I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to start with a bight of rope. I'm going to pass it around my tree or whatever. And then here I'm going to take both the strands and stick them in the bight. And then of this, I need a locker for this. Of this, I can clip either these 2 strands or these 2 strands, as you can see right here. So either the bight or the 2 strands from the other side of the bight. If you clip the 2 strands from the other side of the bite and then try weighting the hitch, you'll notice how everything just falls apart. So that's the pitfall. You don't want that to happen. So what I'm gonna do is place the 2 strands from the other side of the bite through the bite itself, maybe tighten it up a bit, and then I'm going to clip the strands of the bite together. Right there, and I'll lock my carabiner. I like to orient the spine so that way it's up against the rope. That way the gate can't be messed with. And there I have my Kinetic hitch, going with the check from before. You tug it and it doesn't fall apart. Here, the cool part about this hitch is, by virtue of the way how it works, is each strand is independent. So I can pull on this one and it stays. I can pull on this one and it stays. And so a lot of times you may be tied into this end, and so by doing the hitch you have added security for yourself, and you also have the ability to take this rope. You can tie a clove hitch, or in this case I'll use an overhand knot, and then belay up your friend, just set up like that. You can use a mounter here or whatever, you know, but that way you actually do get a bit of extension so you can move around and see, and then you're also attached here. So this is a complete closure system. I use this all the time, especially when I'm guiding actually and short roping people, as well as I also use this too when I'm climbing with my partners and maybe we're roped up for an interesting section, and we want to provide each other some security, and this is just really fast. It doesn't use any gear. The problem is you are hooked in. You don't want to use this on fifth class pitch climbing because you're kind of stuck where you are without switching ends of the rope, and we want to try to avoid that, and plus you would just have a normal anchor in the first place. But I've used this on trees anywhere from this big to really big again. Anywhere you can employ an equivocation hitch on the way down, you can employ this Kinetic hitch on the way up pretty much. Since I showed you an example of the last one, I'll show you an example of this one with a wider wrap around the whole ladder, and I have it set up just as before. And even now, if I don't tip the whole ladder over, you can see how each strand is independent of each other. One thing you will have to do is just tighten it up beforehand to make sure that it's as far back as it'll scoot, because this thing can scoot around. And so if I build it down here, I may have to tighten up rope until it scoots back up to there, back up to the point where each strand is actually holding. Well, there you have it, guys. Those are my 3 hitches, 3 more advanced hitches I'm going to talk about. Whereas the Garda hitch is pretty commonplace to use in various amounts of systems, the equivocation and the Kinetic hitch are more complicated, and they have some nuance to them, and by virtue of being more advanced hitches, they have plenty of right and wrong times to use them. I addressed some of those in the video, like you don't want to use the equivocation hitch every rappel. You only want to use it for short little sections. Same thing with the Kinetic hitch, whereas you want to avoid using that over long pitches, but mainly just for small steps here and there, which would sort of akin them more to alpine type terrain rather than rock terrain, which is somewhat true. I mean, in alpine terrain, you have more of that bulgy sort of weird scrambly type stuff, whereas rock terrain is more 5th class. But on more complicated, more advanced, more demanding rock routes, it's not uncommon to have a lot of scrambling in order to get to the base, or a lot of scrambling to get from the top down to your rappel site, or even after the rappels. So these hitches come in handy in that case. Again, they are sort of more prone towards professional use, but a lot of recreational climbers can get a lot of use out of these hitches if they just practice and get a mentor that can help them work them through using these more advanced hitches in order to provide safety for themselves and their partners. And so this video is more or less just an introduction to that sort of thing, like all my videos are, and you want to go to someone you trust or another guide or something like that to sort of iron in the best times to use these techniques. All right, so that's just about it for my advanced hitches video. If I will try to add in a little bit more videos here and there, hopefully of using these techniques and talking about them more in order to talk about or where I can explain why I'm using this and when, and various other times. I will try to add some of those into my channel. If you guys like the video, then please like it and subscribe to my channel. I release videos every Wednesday, or at least I try to release videos every Wednesday on new topics. If you want me to make a video about something, then leave me a comment and I'll try to get to it as soon as possible. And I'll see you guys in the next video.